those are probably the areas that I get the most, some knees, some hips. But most people are presenting or coming to me with back pain. I don't know if that's because that's part of my story or if it's just, you don't realize how much you use your back until it's not working the way that you want it to work. You use it to walk, you use it to sit, you use it for everything. And when your back is out, it makes for a rough day.
Yeah.
Really rough.
Yeah. Rose, I'll just answer you real quick and then we are going to dive in. So the tools that we have in Cognomovement can be used to really, really assist in the daily life of a Parkinson's patient. I've worked with them myself, really can make a big difference. Parkinson's, though, is a brain degenerative disease. So that's something that you have to stop the degeneration and move the energy up, which Cognomovement can do. It can create way more energy, but it really helps more with the daily life. Things like concussion, brain injury, where it's a single or there's multiple injury, really can be shifted. But degenerative diseases are a much bigger conversation. I don't know if that helps or not, that answered you, but I mean, it really can be helped for sure in a big way. All right, let's get started. So good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Larson. I'm joined with Bill McKenna. Everybody, we know him. And we are so pleased tonight to have as your instructor throughout the series, Katie Wrigley, who is a level 2 Cognomovement practitioner and a pain coach. What else, Katie? Would you introduce yourself?
So thank you everybody for joining. I'm so excited to be here tonight. So I do focus, much to Liz's point, I focus on pain and stress, and I do things a little differently. I include emotional pain as part of it. Because if you've ever had a heartbreak, you know how much emotional pain itself hurts. So I like to cover both of those, and stress is a direct correlation with stress and pain. So I feel like I would just be leaving it on the table if I didn't also address the stress piece, but that's really in my wheelhouse. And Cognomovement is my favorite way to help people resolve what's bothering them and keeping them held back.
So Bill and I want to start. Let's just sing Katie's praises a little bit, Bill. Like, Katie is one of those people that inspires both of us all the time. I'll pass it to you, Bill. Let's brag on Katie a little.
Oh, well, actually, it was really cool. So I'll tell you the Katie story from my perspective. And my perspective was, there was another gentleman that I was working with, and he I think randomly called Katie and was like, "Hey, you got to talk to this guy over here." And so she scheduled a session with me, and we began work, and she had an extraordinary amount of pain, and we worked. I think our very first session we worked, and she was not a giver-upper. She's got an iron will, which for those of us that have strong will, our pain, that can be really part of our pain because we don't let go of things and hurts and things that have happened. But it was, and I don't know if we can flash it up on the screen, but you can see Katie's face from the first time, like when she first started working with us, to recently, and the change, the transformation in her face. You can see the pain and the anguish in her face, and then you can see this really beautiful face, that's lit up from inside. So it was such a wonderful thing, and to watch, not only just seeing the emotions come off, but seeing her pain subside, seeing her walking, she kind of walked kind of like oh man, like I don't know how to say it other than like when she walked, it was like burdened, and she felt like it was burdened, the back was kind of hunched over a bit, and kind of like every step was a real, and that all changed. And then one of my favorite parts, see, I'll take all the time if you give it to me. But this is such good information. Her back, her spine, she was going to go into surgery. She had surgery scheduled, and the doctor said, well, that's your path, right? Is you need to go to surgery for this thing. But you could see literally that one of the discs was literally, it was like, back, like it made a U-turn there. There's Katie before and after. Oh my God. How great is that? How great is that? I love that. And then, but she had this huge dent in her back, like somehow somebody had punched one of the vertebrae inward. And then afterwards, and I think she had, it was possible she came to one of the big seminars, and the darn thing popped right out and into place. I mean, the back went flat. And it was, and to see the physical, with your bare eyes, right? It was just remarkable. Not only that, but all the transitions in her life, which I've got to leave some space for everybody else to talk. Okay, because there's so many great things. Liz, tell your side of the story.
We're going to let Katie actually share this story because it's really, really important. Katie, what I want to say about Katie is she's become a real leader in the Cognomovement community. And that's why Bill and I feel so confident about endorsing what she's going to be sharing with people over these series. There's this one tonight. There will be a 2-hour class, one of our famous $97 classes, and then there'll be a 6-week series. And we really want everyone here to know that we really trust her with this information. And, she's just a real upstanding member of our community and a real leader and a mentor in the practitioner program. But the biggest thing is that Katie did this for herself. This is what we want you to know. And I'm going to ask Katie to get real vulnerable with you guys and share what her life was like before. Because there is nothing like someone telling you how to heal your pain that's never experienced it. And our friend has experienced it. She lived it. So let's dig into that, Katie. Would you share with everybody how this journey started? How you came to this particular work and what you'd done before that, what was happening in your life?
Well, first off, thank you guys for all the kudos. It means the world to me, and I really appreciate this. So my life looks even more different than the picture of me. So I had tried everything. My mom was actually a physician's assistant in allopathic, which is traditional medicine. And so that was really what I thought was it. And I tried everything to resolve back pain, knee pain. I've had 6 surgeries, 16 MRIs. I had 7 PT orders the year that I was disabled.
So back up just a little and tell them how you got there in the first place, because this is really something, guys.
Yeah. So I was running from a childhood trauma that I did everything in my power to deny. And by everything in my power, I mean everything except facing it and admitting that it had happened to me. Lots of drugs, drinking, any kind of numbing technique I could use. And then it started to shift into pain. And I moved towards high risk activities like skydiving. So the short story is I was really bad at skydiving landing, which is what happened. The longer story is really skydiving is one of the things I used to try to avoid myself. And when I say avoid myself, I mean, I traveled all over the country for 20 years, running from everything and everyone. And what this culminated in was a knee replacement in my early 40s. And my back had 6 bulging discs that they bulged in opposite directions, herniated disc in my neck with a bone spur. I had numbness going down my left arm, had numbness going down my left leg for a while. My L5 facet joint, those are little spiny things that feed the peripheral nerves to your body. If you aren't that versed in spinal anatomy, I want to congratulate you because it means that your back is doing pretty good.
You don't have
But
a reason to know, right?
yes, exactly. So that's good news. If you are not as well versed in spinal anatomy as Bill, myself, it's you learn it through pain. But all that was it was causing excruciating amounts of pain. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't arch my back. I couldn't even lay flat in my back. And as you were starting to talk about, getting vulnerable, I started to feel tears go in my eyes because 4 years ago, I was wondering how long it was going to be until I could die without surgery, without suicide. I mean, and now I ask myself, how much more can I live? I'm preparing for a trip to Alaska, but I mean, I alienated myself from everything, everyone, and I was a jerk. Like when you're in that much pain, you have a really hard time being nice to anyone, including yourself, or at least that was my case. I was hating on my body. I was hating on everything and everyone, and I was miserable. I was completely withdrawn.
So was your pain affecting relationships?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I pretty much tapped out of social life like long ago. Like the lockdown that everybody started to experience in 2020, I did that consciously and on purpose in 2018 when I was disabled. I didn't want to be around people. I didn't feel like I was good company. All I could talk about, all I could think about was how much my body hurt. And I was really self-conscious.
So you're using the word disabled. What does that mean?
I had about 20 minutes of energy a day. I would need to take a nap after I walked to my mailbox. I couldn't even make a meal for myself. I couldn't stand up long enough to do that. I was on disability from work. I was in corporate at the time, and I was on disability for 5.5 months. The only reason it didn't go to long-term disability is because that scared me too much. And I wound up losing my job as a result because I didn't stay on disability and I couldn't really get much done. And they noticed because I had been highly productive prior to the pain getting to that level, but it was all consuming. My first thought when I woke up was, ugh. And then I was so happy to make it through a day.
So this is really important. So there was a life pre-pain. I think everybody who is experiencing pain or there's a demarcation, isn't there, of
Yeah.
your life, who you are before pain, and then who you are during and after. So talk about that a little bit. Who were you before pain?
Oh, I was a lot of fun. I traveled the world both for fun and with business, and it was awesome. I highly recommend it to anybody who's feeling up for it. I was a skydiver, like I said, so I was pretty functional. I worked out when I turned 40. I was working out, I don't know, between 4 and 12 times a week. I was doing yoga. I was doing aerials, where you climb the silks and all that. I was doing stuff that really used my body. I was very active. And just through life decisions, through allowing that pain to just mount and mount and mount, and nothing working and giving up hope and getting more and more depressed, I just watched it all go away. I remember consciously deciding that I wasn't going to skydive anymore. And I don't regret that decision because now I have a completely different appreciation for my ability to walk, which I didn't have before. But my life doesn't look anything like it looked pre-pain, and it's vastly better than I ever thought it could be. At just every part of it. I'm just as active again. I'm just not self-destructive anymore the way that I used to be.
And that's super important. We'll talk about that a little bit later, like where pain, the real origins of pain. But if you will, let's go to the part of the story where we all met. Do you have that t-shirt with you?
Yes. So this is yes, go ahead. I think it's better coming from you, Liz. I'll just hold it up.
Well, those of you guys who've worked with us, I'm a keen observer. And Katie was in what was called a Cogno Conscious training, one that's coming up here in a few months. I mean, she dove right in. Like that was a really hard place to start, and she started there. But this is the t-shirt she was wearing. Anybody see the problem with this t-shirt? Anybody? My body's a temple, ancient and crumbling, probably cursed and harboring unspeakable horror. So here's our darling Katie coming to this session. We know she's really trying to make some changes in her life. And this is what's plastered all over her body, which really spoke to the mindset. So talk to us about where you were in that moment and how that shirt really did represent what was going on.
And the only reason I have it, I just want to comment on that first, is to remind me where I started, because this shirt, that is absolutely how I felt. I was trying to be funny about it, but when there's too much truth, it's not funny. And I was absolutely, that was how I was acting. That's how I looked. That's how I felt. Like I had a cursed body that was harboring unspeakable horrors. And I was treating my body like it was cursed and harboring unspeakable horrors. And it was keeping me in horrible amounts of pain.
And you, at that time, you were using pain meds, right? Was that a kind of an issue?
Yeah. So I was always super careful with opiates, but I had plenty of doctors who were ready to prescribe them at a moment's notice. But I identify as an addict. Like I mentioned, I engaged in a lot of numbing activities to escape the pain, the physical pain and the emotional pain. That's one of the reasons that I keep that in my wheelhouse is for me personally, that was a massive link. And I just, I'm totally losing my train of thought. Sorry.
Well, we were just talking about so I know a lot of people who, when we talk about pain, we're talking about pain meds as well.
Yeah.
And
yes,
as we move forward in these sessions, that's something Katie's going to share with you, and something that she does in her practice is in combination with doctors, with a person's doctor, to help them change that pain med narrative if that's what they choose, because that can add a whole nother layer of problems. So I was just asking you to share with everybody, what was that situation like for you?
Yeah, thank you. I was taking the maximum amount of muscle relaxers that you could take safely in a day. And I was maxing out my Lyrica dose, which was probably why I didn't have tons of energy, because both of them are very sedating, which is a side effect of every pain medication I've ever taken. I was also taking something for, I think I was on, I don't even remember all the prescriptions I was on, but they were like 6 or 7. My pharmacist used to be like, "Hey, Katie, how you doing?" You don't want your pharmacist to know you, not when you're in your 30s and your 40s. You just don't.
You don't want to be personal friends with your pharmacist, your local pharmacist.
I mean, I do if I like them, but not because I'm in there so frequently that they know me. That was a little depressing.
So is there anything else that you want to share with everybody about what your life was like before? We went on to kick a dead horse, but I really do want people to understand that you have had this experience. Is there anything else that you would share about your life that someone else might be experiencing right now?
I had no awareness of any control or choice that I had in this situation. And so I was walking around like a victim all the time. I was a victim in my own body. And I felt like I was I was so terrified of prison, because I already felt like I'm still, that's, not a place I want to go, but my body felt like a prison, because you can't escape yourself. No matter how hard you try, you're still there everywhere you go, which means that if you're in pain all the time, your pain is with you everywhere you go. And you actually start to get traumatized by your own body. And I've read a lot of research that points to the fact that being in chronic pain is actually one of the culprits of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And it makes sense, and the neurology responds the same. But I mean, and during that time, unfortunately, I lost 2 friends to suicide. And my reaction, in addition to grief, was also envy that they had the balls to do something I didn't. And I'm so grateful now that I did not, because I would be missing out on everything that's happening now, which is, like I said before, it's better than anything I could have ever imagined.
Well, I just want to thank you, Katie, for being vulnerable. I can't say that word in saying that, because that is a thought. We know that people who have chronic pain often consider that as a way out. I also want to acknowledge what you just said about PTSD. We know in cognitive movement, we're always talking about the nervous system and injuries to the nervous system. But if you look at this, that your body is feeling like it's injuring you daily.
Mhm.
And so you have a post-traumatic stress response to what happened an hour ago in the pain inside your own body. So we really
Mhm.
need to think about this. It's a lot of things. It's your physical body and it's what it's experiencing. It's your emotional body. Your consciousness and spirituality comes into it just like that. Like, why don't I just leave the planet? Because that would be easier. Your
Mhm.
family, your personal relationships, your extended family, your work. So I don't know. Are you guys pretty satisfied that Katie has experienced this and might be qualified to speak about at least the experience of pain? So you can put it in the chat if you're pretty satisfied that. So let's move out of that just a little bit. So Katie, when your friend told you about Cognomovement and you came,
Yes.
and you showed up wearing that t-shirt, and what were you hoping to get? Like, you were at a point of like Bill said, you have an iron will, you're a fighter, you were still fighting, you didn't give up. You
Yeah.
showed up at this thing, what in the world were you hoping for? What did you think might happen?
I was hoping to lower the pain enough that I was not going to need surgery, because I had had two major surgeries at that point. I'd had abdominal surgery that resulted in sepsis, and I had a knee replacement that resulted in complex regional pain syndrome, which means you have a heightened sensitivity in that limb. And then it actually transferred to central sensitization, which is very hard to say, which is a heightened sense of sensitivity throughout your entire body, which meant that if someone grabbed my arm, I bruised. You have physical symptoms of this heightened sense. And so that was what was going on inside at the time. And so I'm thinking, okay, those two surgeries had a higher than 90 percentile chance of success. Like the abdominal surgery had less than 1% chance of any kind of complication going in. Neurosurgery, the way that they were talking about, is a 50-50 outcome. I was terrified. I'm like, I have failed at more than 90 percentile chance of success. Like, what are the odds that a 50-50 outcome is going to go in my favor when a 99% one did not? And so my only hope was I just want to lessen this enough that I can have some kind of life. Like, I wasn't even trying to travel. I wasn't trying to do anything. I just didn't want surgery. That's all I hope to get from it.
Yeah, I mean, and you talked about that earlier when we were talking about off camera about the idea of what does surgery actually offer in terms of outcome. For you, it didn't necessarily add up to great, right? The surgery did and could have caused more. So you were looking for an alternative to surgery at that time. Is that correct? Like,
I was, and I wanted to take a pause. And there's been many people who have reached out to me directly who have had spinal surgery who have become worse because of it. Like, there's someone, I don't remember what the conditions are, but someone had reached out and she has multiple different spinal conditions that were made worse by surgery. And the cost of surgery, and it's so easy to understand why that looks like the quick fix, because your doctor's saying, oh, you can actually, in 6 weeks you'll be back to normal. I've never healed in the window that they said. I was supposed to be out for 6 weeks with my knee. I was out for 5.5 months. I was supposed to be out for a week when I'd had it scoped. Before that, I was out for 6 weeks. My abdominal surgery was supposed to be 5 days. I was gone 6 weeks because I sprung a leak and got sepsis. So the cost of surgery to me, and plus sometimes your pain can go up. And the thing about the brain, we never unlearn a pain level, ever. Once we've experienced it, the subconscious grips onto that. That's part of the complexity of letting go of chronic pain, and pain is there to give you a message and teach you. And I just was not getting the message at all. Like, it was just, this sucks. I don't like this. I hate life. I wish it was over. Versus now I'm like, oh, what do you have for me, shoulder? Oh, is that bothering me? Okay, poof, it's gone.
yeah. So this is incredible. So where we met Katie, she was working in corporate. She didn't have a relationship. I think you were living in another state, right? You were in a lot of pain. Things were not looking great for you.
Nope.
And then you went through that first big seminar. What shifted for you that allowed you to start on the next part of your journey of eliminating this daily chronic issue?
Everything. So I'd had an introduction to pain management a few years before when I was disabled, and that's how I had started to get that much of my life back. But as I had mentioned, I still had unrelenting pain down my left leg. On my bad days, it felt like I was throwing my left leg in front of me to be able to walk because I didn't have enough sensation to work the muscles normally. And it was just getting worse. And that's when I kept hearing over and over, you need surgery, you need surgery, you need surgery. And then I did the session with Bill, and it was amazing. And so I was talking to him, and like, I think a week after, when he followed up with me, and he said, I'm just going to throw this out there, take it or leave it. And I wouldn't suggest this to everybody, but something tells me you're going to be able to handle it. We have a 3-day event coming up. It's called Cogno Conscious, and it's going to raise your energy. And I really think that this could help you. And I'm like, why not? Or surgeon's knife, wacky ball. Let's try the wacky ball in 3 days of Cognomovement. And what changed? What didn't change, Liz?
I don't know. Everything.
My pain changed. My pain state permanently changed that weekend. And it didn't stay a 0, just to be clear, but it was so much lower. And it made it much easier to start to regain parts of my life. Like at that point, it took me over 2 days to clean my house because I could only do it a little bit at the time. When I finished Cogno Conscious, I went into my kitchen and set up a piece of furniture.
I remember that. I do remember that. And how proud you were of that moment of being able to put together that piece of furniture. What was it, like an IKEA piece of furniture, one of those?
Yeah, Wayfair, similar, but yeah, I put it, it took me like 2.5 hours. I was leaned over. I was supposed to have 2 people to do it. And I kept going, oh gosh, I hope I don't hurt my back again. And then like, it was a little sore because I was using muscles. And then I did another quick Cognomovement session the next morning, and it went away. And what was really cool is I'd just been introduced to a pain management therapist, because the doctor I was going to, that was part of their protocols. If you're going to have surgery, they wanted you to go to a therapist. I did one session with her. Before that, she gave me the pain management material that I still can't read because it's painful to read it, because it's just so boring. It's got a lot of good stuff in it, but holy cow, it's dry toast. And then I had a session with her right after Cogno Conscious. And so she had told me the first one, we're going to work together for 4 months. I think I can get you here. And then the session after Cogno Conscious was, you got farther than I thought I was going to get you. You're dismissed.
Wow, that's crazy. So I just want to take like a tiny intermission to say to everybody, when Katie said she put together a piece of furniture, a lot of people will be like, and so what, right? But think about what it takes to do a project in your own life. If you're experiencing pain right now, think about how much you feel like putting together a piece of furniture, getting on the floor, screwing things in, having the brain capacity. What does it take to do any project, anything in your life? You got to have the energy to do it. That's number one. You can want to do it all day long, but if you have the energy, you got to have the focus, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be in the mental state. You have to have clarity of mind, right? You have to have the creativity to think about how to do it. There's a lot of pieces you need. And when you're in chronic pain and your body, your nervous system is telling you, we have a 4-alarm fire going on in here. What the hell are you doing thinking about putting a piece of furniture together? It's never going to happen. So that moment in time, from what I could see from the outside looking in, because I'd forgotten that moment, but I remember now, must have been monumental for you.
It was, because 2 weeks before that, my dad had to come over to help me put together another piece of furniture, because I had just barely moved to this state when I met you guys. So I wasn't acclimated here yet at all. Like I was just very freshly in a new state. But it was remarkable to me. And then a couple of weeks later, or actually, no, I think it was later that week, I cleaned my entire house in 2 hours without a pain flare. And I went, whoa, this is cool. And I had the buy-in personally and professionally, because I already wanted to be a pain coach. I hadn't left corporate yet, but I knew that was what I wanted to do, but I didn't have that thing that no one else had. Like I hadn't come up with the unique idea to, and it wasn't, I mean, it was you guys showed me that Cogno Movement worked. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to become a practitioner because I have the professional buy-in too. And I want to help other people have the same transformation that I've had.
Yeah, Katie went from nothing to cognitive movement practitioner like so fast early on in the day. Like it took people longer to get into the program. So that was crazy. So what happened next? So you're starting to realize your pain can be less and less. So you started to make some decisions. What did you start to decide about pain meds? I remember this conversation about what you wanted to do.
It was time to let go of them. And I didn't want to take them. And everybody has different feelings about medications. I'm not trying to influence whatever your personal feelings are. But for me, I don't like taking things. I don't mind taking supplements, but I really don't like taking pharmaceuticals unless I have to. And I felt like I had to. So I wanted to be able to get off my meds. And it took me a little while, so one of the things to keep in mind is your subconscious mind. There's a few reasons that it takes a while to really influence chronic pain at a deep level so that you are aware of that influence every single day. And one of those is your subconscious needs time to trust you that it does not need to keep that pain signal up to keep you safe. The subconscious, if you've done any cognitive movement at all, its whole job, no big deal, just to keep you safe and alive. Just a small task of safety and life. So it's not going to let go of that pain signal until it's sure, and I remember a few months after that, I'd done so much. I put away a bunch of Christmas decorations. I cleaned my house again. I'd done some extra cleaning. I did some extra something. I had been all over the place. I had traveled and I sat down and I was so mad because I'm like, my back still hurts. This is BS. What the heck? And I'm like, wait. And I checked myself on, I'm like, okay, what have I been doing? And I sat there and listed everything off to myself. I'm like, okay, that's not true that my back still hurts. And pretty much as soon as I had that realization, the soreness, and it was because I'd overused muscles. And at that time, my brain didn't understand the difference between muscle fatigue and pain. Now it does. I can go garden in my yard.
That's a huge point. Say that again for everyone.
My body didn't yet know the difference between fatigued muscles and pain, not when the muscle fatigue was in my back.
Okay. So is what you're saying, because this is so fascinating to me, that sometimes you're in so much pain that whether it's the injury, like, so let's say it's the knee, the body doesn't know if it's that pain or if it's regular muscle pain, or if it's that pain or you have a headache. Does your body start to lump everything together into a pain signal that isn't necessarily accurate? Is that a good way to put it?
Absolutely. Yes. And it goes back to what I said before, your brain doesn't unlearn a pain signal. So if there is something else that's getting into the periphery of your subconscious that's going to trigger, I need this pain signal, it's going to go right up to the top again.
Okay, so this is huge. So does this include, like you mentioned, emotions? So you've got the pain, there's chronic pain there, the signal is open for that pain. Now that pain is including other muscle aches or headaches or whatever. Does it then start to take in emotional pain? So if you have an emotional pain, is the body going to be like, red alert, turn on the fire alarms for that pain signal as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And, Louise Hay is one of my favorite people to go to help me reference this when I feel things going on. And so one of the things I had personally been struggling with is I wanted to leave corporate. Corporate was also very financially secure for me at that time. So I was terrified that I wasn't going to be able, and I retired from corporate in May of 2021, just so people know, which was less than a year. That was 7 months after my first Cognomovement session, much to your point. But the back often has to deal with financial scarcity. And Bill was the first one who taught me that. And so as I was wrestling with and I did a lot of Cognomovement sessions around my fear with corporate, that I needed, in air quotes, the health insurance I got through corporate, and I needed the security. And I was able to let all of that go, but I could feel it in my back. as I was working out those emotions. And at this point, I have more pain-free days than I have low pain days. And I haven't had a pain spike since I was stupid enough to do deadlifts with a 45-pound kettlebell.
Wow.
I kind of earned that one. And that was in like March, I think.
That sounds like a brand new injury, possibly, to me.
Yeah, that was. And I did Cognomovement with Annette that day. She's another level 2 practitioner, and she helped get me down from acute excruciating status to I can deal with this again. And 3 days later, I felt normal. And
let's share with everybody. So I think you guys are getting the idea. Pain is not one thing. It's a very, very complex set of issues. When you first have an injury, okay, I got an injury. It makes perfect sense. My pain hurts. My leg hurts. I got pain, right? Then that injury can create some PTSD around the injury in your nervous system. It can also be attached to emotional things. I worked with a young man the other day who's had 15 years of migraines. We walked that back to a moment in time with a bad decision in a coach. He got hurt on a mat. He knew the coach made a bad decision. The way the coach handled his injury, it was a significant injury, also injured him emotionally. He had to have surgery. There's another little injury, right? Mm-hmm. And then, the recovery from injury. And then from there, all of a sudden, he started having chronic migraine that he's had for 15 years. We're starting to bring that down to back to normal state. But it's not just one thing. It's a series, a number of things that add up to what becomes chronic pain. Is that fair enough?
Absolutely. And one distinction I want to make in pain types, when you have an injury like you talked about, even an initial car accident, it is what they classify as acute pain. Chronic pain is only considered chronic when you have experienced for 3 to 6 months unrelentingly more days than not. That is when it becomes chronic. And so if you have the car accident and you go through the PT and you're still hurting, I invite you to start to examine what else may be there, because you probably, quote unquote, should. I hate that word, shitting all over myself. But when you have gone through PT, if you are not where the doctor expects you to be, it's time to take a look and ask yourself, okay, what else is in here? Because, and it becomes so complex, like pain becomes part of your identity.
Yeah.
When you've been carrying it for a while. And that's when it really becomes harder to disentangle. And that was part of so when Bill had mentioned after the first session, I had relief, and I also had a massive panic attack because I was like, I didn't expect it to be gone. Like I sat there like a doubting Thomas through the entire session, just like, yeah. And then he's like, check in with your back. And I'm like, what just happened? Which I hear a lot from clients. But yeah. And I panicked and I was like, okay, what is this about? I've been wanting this pain to be gone for years. Why am I panicking? And I had to take a hard look at myself. And one of the things is that pain made me feel superior because I could keep up with my colleagues at work, and I was in excruciating amounts of pain. In fact, right before I went on 5 months of disability, I won $1 million deal for the company I was working on 3 calls. Like I was good. And and I really liked the products that they had. So it was really easy for me to engage with people. But I went from, that level of functionality, and I was about to go out on disability. And so that was a hard pill to swallow, really hard.
Okay. So I want to get to where you're actually going to give people something to take home today, but could you please just share with everybody, this is the good part. Would you share what you've been able to do with your life today? Like you said, you're going to Alaska. You've got a new partner. Yes. How is that different now than when you were immersed in pain?
Oh, this is the first healthy relationship I've ever been in. That was part of my trauma pattern, was I chose people that I knew on a level weren't good for me. The man I'm with now is absolutely just an amazing, phenomenal human being. Not going to call him out because I didn't ask his permission, but he's fantastic. And gosh, that was a big change. I am now coaching full time. I've gone on, I don't know, I've been out to California twice. I went to Florida last weekend. I'm going to Alaska in 2 weeks, and it's not like a restful vacation. We're going to be walking on glaciers. We're going to be watching bears. Like, I may need to run at some point. We're going gold panning. We're going salmon fishing. We are experiencing Alaska, and it would not have even been a consideration for me 4 years ago. Not at all. Not even 3 or even 2 years ago. I've been like, I don't know that I'm up for it.
Yeah,
And
because you have to manage pain around it, right? You'd have to be managing pain, not just enjoying life. Yeah. So there's this, and there's a reason that Katie's doing a series now, because it appears there's this unwinding of a lot of things that get attached to pain, and that not only is your pain less, but your life is so much better. It sounds like you went from, really hoping it would be over soon to actually having some real fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have no interest in this life. And I was on the river in Florida on Saturday, and this massive pop-up storm with thunder and lightning came down. My first thought was like, okay, I'm trying to be in full acceptance, and I'm really not ready for this to be the last day of my life. And I'm paddling hard, and again, I was kayaking. So that's back, that's shoulders, that's everything I couldn't have done a few years ago, but it's completely transformed, and relationships have never been better, and as you were talking, it came to mind a friend of mine who, she came out to, when I was living in Colorado, which is where I lived before here. She came out to visit me a couple times, and we didn't go do anything because I hurt too much. And I think she's just now at a point where she trusts me to come visit me again because she's seen me so active. But I mean, I feel so, and that wasn't the first friend I did that to. So you start feeling guilty because you start feeling like you're letting people down. And there's just so much that starts to go into it, but that friend, she's actually planning to visit me next year. She just became a grandma, so she's all wrapped up in that right now. But she's planning to visit me next year, and we're gonna go hike. I can go hiking right out my back door. I have trails a quarter of a mile away, and I go on them all the time.
So, Katie, you developed a system that you are helping people with now that really addresses all of the parts of pain. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that is what you're going to be sharing, in the next couple of months with people, is the system. And you use that system yourself daily, right? And you teach it to clients.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it look like? Just briefly, because I want you to be able to give everybody a little treat, but what does it look like for people like who are graduating out of pain?
So at the core of what I'm doing, I'm about awareness, because you don't have a choice with your pain until you know you have a choice. And the only way to know you have a choice is to raise your awareness. And then what you do with that choice is the next piece, empowerment. It is up to you what you do with whatever you find. But I've divided life into what I call the 4 areas of impact. And these are areas that we're going to dive into in depth during the 6-week program. And I'm going to introduce them in the workshop. And these are areas that you can start to build awareness into. So I've even created a workbook that is really centered around journaling exercises to help start to bring this awareness. For instance, like, how are you talking to your body? Are you cursing it or are you loving it? There's a lot in there, but I've really found, and, from talking to other people who are in a similar space, like the feedback I get is like, ooh, that's powerful. And I actually have a client in a similar place right now who has been in severe pain with sciatica and fibromyalgia for the last 20 years. And without conscious thought, she is tapering off of her opiates, but she has also been on for 20 years. We haven't even touched anything specific around the opiates. It's that her pain has already shifted enough that she just hasn't needed the same dose.
That's incredible on its own, because, pain medicine has a lot of side effects. So, I mean, even just, it's not little if you're experiencing it, but things like constipation, can make a big difference in your life. So being able to adjust and change that, that's huge for people. Okay, so coming up next in the next class, it's 2 weeks from tonight. It'll be a 2-hour class where you're going to actually give people these 4 areas of impact, the areas that they can look at. And then you're going to offer a full Cogno movement session around pain.
Yes.
So if you've never experienced Cogno movement, that's going to be new for you. If you know Cogno movement, there's a way that Katie does it that really helps you understand your specific pain and work with it. So at the end of that 2 hours, most people are going to walk away with less pain and definitely a bigger set of understandings, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then in the 6 weeks course after that, Katie's going to actually break all this down and do it with you. So you will be fully on your journey to being as pain-free as a person can be. We all experience pain every day, but learning how to take these steps for yourselves, how to work a session. You work this, do you work it daily, Katie? Is that true?
A lot of it's automatic for me at this point, but if I notice that my pain-free days are going away, I immediately pause and go, okay, what am I not doing? Where do I want to bring up some more awareness? And I can fix it in minutes at this point. It's a lot of it's automatic, but I'm really big on walking my own talk because I have a hard time following other people who don't follow their own advice. And so I'm huge on it. And when I stray from it, I own it. Like I recently got sick for the first time in 5.5 years. And it was because I wasn't paying attention to my own advice. I got completely wrapped up in this big project. I was creating my podcast, which is the same name as my methodology, the Pain Changer, and totally neglected everything that I teach people and immediately got schooled on why that is not going to happen anymore. And I actually feel not sick, and yeah, and it's been a really good wake up to remind me. And I owned it, like I got sick because I stopped walking my talk, and I'm getting back on track. And yeah, so very long way of saying this.
People will be shown how to actually not only do this for themselves, but they'll have your guidance. So like in the next class, it's a 2-hour class. It's just $97. I know you guys love the $97 classes, which is way, way less than a private session with Katie, but that's what it's going to feel like is that private session. You're going to actually be shown how to do this for yourself when you need it. So it's a lifelong tool. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely. And that's a big thing that I teach my clients, or I tell my clients, even in the first call, is part of what I do is I teach you to do this yourself, because as much as I want to work with people and I want to work with as many people as possible, I don't want anyone thinking they need me for life, because they don't. You can absolutely learn how to do this on your own and be self-sufficient. And sometimes you'll have things come up where you're going to want someone to come in and help you again. It may be me, it may be another practitioner, but you're going to be able to be self-sufficient and be able to handle a lot of this on your own. And that's a big piece that I teach everybody that I work with. And I have a video I made that I give to my clients so that when they have a pain spike, they have a 20-minute video to walk through. And every single one of them has said that it gets them out of that pain spike.
So yeah, so we really encourage you guys, get on this next call, sign up for the 6 weeks as well, so that you can actually have these tools. And I promise you, you will never think about pain again the same way. You will know what it is, where it comes from, where it originated. By the end, you will have unpacked not just your pain, but everything that's attached to it. That this is going to be, including the one next week, it'll be 8 weeks by that people will have had an experience to create real and lasting change. So, okay, that's my sales pitch. I really want you guys to be there and have this experience. It's going to be massive. You will walk away changed from that session, but I want you to help people change today, please, Katie. Would everybody like something to take home that can change your pain right now?
I'm excited to hear that. If I could just one small thing is that and this was Katie's experience and so many people that she helps. But the core of it, of the pain, has a high likelihood of not being what you think it is. And that's the uncovering that when Liz was just saying just a minute ago, you're going to find the source of your pain. I believe it's not what you think. So anyway, with that, Katie, Liz.
Katie, somebody has a question. Are they going to need the ball for the 2-hour class?
No, nope, no ball is needed until the 6-week program. So no, as long as you have something to follow, it doesn't have to be this. And I've led sessions with people who don't have a ball. I actually got someone to a 0 just 2 nights ago, and she just used a regular soccer ball. So yeah, the 2-hour class does not require the ball. Great question though.
Yeah, there's really good reason to have it. If you're going to continue using the system, you really want the ball. It helps change your brain every time you use it. So you do want it eventually, but okay, we don't need it for that. All right, Katie, will you please take it away? Set up what you're going to share with everybody and, you know.
So to answer Susan, it doesn't have to be a ball. It can just be something. It's just easier to focus if you have something to follow. So it can be like, it can even be a pen or a piece of chapstick. It can even be a pen or something it's easier to have something in your hands to do it with. So, I mean, I've done a session with someone holding a baby toy and it worked. So it's that area of focus just helps keep your mind engaged, because cogno movement is the most effective when you're in the feeling. And I want to have one last note on pain before we start to alleviate it. The way out of pain is through it. And so I want to help make that less scary for you guys tonight. We're actually going to start and we're going to pay attention and examine with curiosity any pain that you're feeling. So this is most effective. Pick the part that is barking at you the loudest right now. And I would like everybody to put your head down. Look down at your body. Some people have an easier time if they close their eyes. I prefer open, but as long as your eyes are downward, still be connecting into where you feel the pain the worst in your body. And first, give it a number, on a scale 1 to 10. You don't need to write it down. Just say it in your head how intense it is. And if it's a body part you can reach, if you're flexible enough, I'd also like you to put your hand on it as well and really connect to it. This isn't about judging the pain. This isn't about hating the pain. This is about starting to understand what's in the pain. And so my hand goes to my back just automatically, even though my back isn't hurting. I've just done that so many times. But I want you to start to look down at your body, start to connect to it. How intense is it on a scale of 1 to 10? How does it feel? Is it heavy or is it light? Or maybe it's fluctuating between both. Does it feel stagnant? Does it feel like it's moving? Is it dull? Is it sharp? How big is it? Does it have a shape? What about a color? Maybe even it has a taste. Maybe not. We're examining with curiosity. And just stay in it for a moment. Allow yourself to feel it. And if you are able to put your hand over the body part that's hurting, I want you to ask your body, what is there? That may feel really weird. Just ask your body, what's there? What's in that pain? You may get a saucy, snarky answer. You may get something that feels like truth. You may get something that surprises you, much to Bill's point. Just give your body a few moments, tune in. Nice deep breaths. Remind your subconscious you are safe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. We are just examining the pain and curiosity. Keep describing it. Stay in it. Don't try to run. Stay in it. And then when you're ready, I want you to start to slowly open your eyes if they're closed. You just kind of keep tuning into your body though. And you're going to slowly start to walk your eyes up, inch by inch. Very, very slowly, staying in it, holding on to it. You may be experiencing change just as your eyes go up. There's another little trick we're going to add to it after this. Very slowly, walk your eyes up. And keep walking until they're looking up where the wall connects to the ceiling. Take another deep breath. Then tune back into that body. See what's changed, what's the same. Make a note. If you want to write it down, go ahead. And now I want you to shift your full attention to a body part that doesn't hurt. I don't care if it's your pinky. I don't care if it's your hair. I don't care if it's a toe. Whoop. But focus on another body part, all of your attention on that body part that does not hurt. All of it, every single bit. Focus everything on it. Pull any attention out of the part that you were just focusing on. Focus on the part that doesn't hurt. Put everything in there. Thank that body part for what it gives you, whatever that may be. If it's a foot, thank your foot for helping you move forward in life, for keeping you grounded, for helping you balance. If it's a knee, thank your knees for always pointing you in the right direction. If it's a hip, thank your hips for giving a little bit of sway. Whatever you may be focusing on, just give it some gratitude. Massive gratitude. Your body has been supporting you throughout your whole life. And yeah, pain sucks. I'm not going to deny that. It sucks. But so much of your body probably doesn't hurt at all. Give it some gratitude. Keep taking nice deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. All right. When you guys are ready, come back in. And now I'm not expecting that we got anybody to a 0, but I would love to hear if you're willing to share what you noticed in that. Oh, let's see, what did Linda say?
I'll answer it, Katie.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead with what you were doing.
So yeah, I would just invite anybody in the chat or if they want to unmute and share anything that they notice. What did you notice anything surprising when you were focusing on the area that hurt? And did you notice any change in pain? Depending on how long the pain has been there, this can be a really impactful exercise or it can be really subtle. The focus is the key though.
So I was focusing on my leg, but I was noticing my back hurt, right here. And after we did it, that doesn't hurt as much anymore. So I guess I was concentrating more on that than my leg. Because actually my leg doesn't hurt when I'm sitting. It's when I'm standing up and trying to walk that it hurts. So it was hard to kind of imagine the pain,
But the part that was starting to hurt doesn't hurt as much now?
That my shoulder doesn't hurt as much. It was really bothering me, but I didn't want to concentrate. I wanted to concentrate on my leg, but apparently because I couldn't, because my leg doesn't hurt unless I'm trying to walk. So I started concentrating on my back, I guess, or this part, and it feels so much better. So I felt the movement. Yeah, thank you.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. And then nose and pain was very dense, sticky area. Then it lifted. Awesome, Linda. Anybody else want to share? This is great.
Vijaya has a question or a comment. Go ahead, Vijaya.
Hi, thank you, Katie. That was really brilliant.
Thank you.
The way you pronounced it and the way you introduced, and I just love it. So when I did the exercise, I had a pain over here, and for about 8 months, I've been having shooting sensations down my left arm, and and when I started Cognomovement, I wasn't even concentrating on it. And then it just slowly just went away. And I thought it was all the supplements or new thing I was taking, but it was very unusual. It just went away. And when you said just now, where was the pain? I still have it, where the axial, the bone right at the end of the skull sits on that spine. It was painful, and it has been painful, even though the other pain went away for the last 2-3 months. I couldn't understand why. And when I touched it, it was like whiplash.
Oh,
That whiplash injury was years ago.
wow.
Thought about it, hadn't got any treatment for it, nothing. So that was interesting. Thank you.
That is awesome. Thank you so much.
And it just, it just lessened down. So I think your point being the emotional component of the pain, we got to pay attention to it. So it's like, I didn't expect to hear that word, whiplash. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that's super interesting. We found that with concussion too. Sometimes it's something that happened 25, 30, 40 years ago, and it's still playing an active role in your body, even though you don't realize. So fantastic message. Bill said that his was a 7 and it's down to about a 3 now.
Wow. Wow. That is awesome, Bill. Very, very cool. And this is really an exercise in awareness only. Like, we didn't even throw Cognomovement, like a full Cognomovement session into it. And you guys are experiencing a change just from raising your awareness. And that's exactly why awareness and empowerment is the premise behind the methodology.
Well, and actually with what Katie showed you tonight is even more than awareness. She actually, and it's built into what she does now. She may not even be aware of it, but it actually is accessing different parts of your brain. It's asking the body, the brain, to handle that pain in a completely different way than it ever did before. So congratulations, your body just learned something new that it can continue to use.
Yeah. And I do that trick myself. Like when I was flying back on Sunday night, my neck was getting a little sore. My toes didn't hurt. So I shifted my focus to my toes, and then I shifted my focus back to my neck, and it wasn't sore anymore. It's like, wow, that works every time. It sounds so silly, but it's amazing.
And the body gets smart over time that it learns there's a way out of that pain, and it really does like it better. So as you learn what Katie's about to teach you, your body will get smarter and smarter and begin to use those even unconsciously. Linda, so I just want to clarify really quickly. I posted the links for basic training. That's Cognomovement's basic course where you get your ball and all that, but you do not need it for Katie's next class. You can come to the class. You don't need basic training. You don't need your ball. I just posted it there for people who are ready to take that step and want that piece. What basic training will do for you is it'll help support you throughout the whole training if you don't have it already. It'll allow you to do the sessions on your own between. So you don't need it, Linda. Don't worry about it. But if you're ready for that and you want it, the link is there. You can just sign up for Katie's next class without it if you don't need it. So if you're interested in really with pain, start with what we're doing with Katie. If you're interested in getting started like tomorrow, and you can start with basic training as well. So you got to wait 2 weeks for Katie's class, but they really do go hand in hand. So I hope that answers. All right, you guys, we are at the end of the time for tonight. Katie, please tell people where they could reach you if they wanted to talk to you personally.
So you can find me through cognomovement.com. I'm listed on the practitioners, or you can come directly to my website. It's katiewrigley.com. That's, I can actually go ahead and put it in the chat. And I do actually offer and encourage, I have complimentary calls to see if we are fit to work together. So I encourage you to reach out. You can also find me on the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Coach KT Dubs. So that's pretty much where you can find me. Thank you so much, Liz. This has been so fun.
Oh my gosh, Bill and I are so pleased to have you as part of our team. And we're so happy that you're offering this information because it is so vital for people getting their life back. And you guys may not know, but this is our mission. Our mission is to raise the consciousness of this planet, one human at a time. And there's no better way to do that than to unwind old patterns that are keeping you stuck. You have some final words there, Bill McKenna?
Gratitude for everybody showing up and giving it a go and hearing about Katie and the stories. Well worth it tonight. I appreciate all of you being here. Katie, cheap, sweet. You know, you can schedule a session with her, come to class. Either way, you're going to benefit. Thank you all.
All right, you guys, good night. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, if not sooner. Please reach out to us, info@cognomovement.com. If you have any technical questions or need a little bit more info, please reach out to Katie if you have any questions for her. And we'll see y'all real soon. Bye.
Bye, everybody.